determination that we do have a quorum, and so next I need just a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Fergus and seconded by Ms. Gleaton. All in favor, can we just have a voice vote on that?
Yeah.
Three of us.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and the agenda's adopted. And the next thing on our agenda, number 3, is an update from the Midland Transit Riders Association.
I do not have anyone signed in from them today for this meeting.
Don't see that. All right. The next is the adoption of the minutes. To have a motion to adopt the minutes.
So moved.
Motion we adopted the minutes.
All right, moved by
I
Mr.
second.
Fergus and seconded by Ms. Gleaton.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. And the minutes are adopted. So we're
Madam
moving
Chair,
then. Yes.
may I take a moment to commend Mr. Reed for getting that Academy Award winning actor to do PSA for us?
Those, we definitely, I told Pam, we definitely have some stars among us now with the new public service announcements, and I thought they were excellent, and I hope if any of you haven't seen them that you will watch them. Mr. Burgess is there and Ms. Gleaton is there, and so they were really good. Thanks,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Burgess. All right.
Thank you.
We'll be talking to you about getting an agent any day now. All right, so we'll move on to 5A, and that's the passenger amenities program. And I think Mr. McGee's with us. Okay. So go ahead.
Yes. Good afternoon. In the past month, AOS has completed 4 shelter sites and 3 bench sites. In addition to that, Davidson Floyd has updated the inventory list that we maintain to reflect the recent additions in the past couple of months, as far as new installations of shelters and benches. And then in our last meeting with Eric Harris, we received a new list from him of sites to begin design on for some additional shelters and benches.
Okay, are there any questions from the committee members for Mr. McGee? Okay. I noticed,
Recording in progress.
Oh my gosh, I'm trying to, wait a minute, I'm on here twice. I got to get off of that. Pardon me a minute.
I believe you're muted now.
Ms. Lil, you're muted now.
Yeah.
There we go. For the last couple of months, we've been asking about the stop at Forest Lake at Forest Acres that was pending, and I didn't notice that on your list. So did that all get cleared up?
It's still on there.
It is.
Yes, and
So no progress on that to this?
no. Who is the contact with the comment
Yeah,
that you had mentioned previously?
And Andy Smith is a board member, and he's chairman of our finance committee, and he also works with the Forest Acres municipal government. So I think I sent Andy a message just saying that we were interested in whether there was something that could be done to move that along. But I know he would welcome a call from you, and that would be a much more direct route. So if you want to just follow up with him.
Okay.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Okay. Anything else from Mr. McGee? Well, thank you for that report. And it looks like a lot of activity and some things really moved along this month. So that's good. Just see a lot of action there. All right, Mr. Cooksey, then we'll go on to your report.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone.
Okay.
And we'll go ahead and report out some information here. I would like to report in reference to our coronavirus efforts, in reference to the Omicron / Delta variant. As requested, Ms. Mood, I did include the number of active employees on this particular graph. And we
Can you speak up a little bit?
yeah, we're coming in at 2.15%
Yeah, we can hear.
of positive cases. So it's drastically it trended down in the correct, direction. So that's very low compared to the number of operators. And this was the number of employees, all active employees. But this was as of 2/3/22. So I would, say that have a pretty good handle on this effort. So we'll continue, obviously, to track the data and watch this carefully. So again, this is a very, very good number in reference to looking at overall where we were just a month ago compared to where we are right now. So
Right.
yeah, fantastic. Actually, very excited about that one. Moving into our customer service area. We did have a 10.7% decrease in our customer complaints compared to December. So very happy to see that, as always. Also in this category, we also had a decrease in our safety complaints. I think we had spiked up to 19. So anytime, we see that going back down, obviously we'll keep hammering away. So it's nice to see that decrease. And our reliability, which has always been our Achilles heel, remains high. So, however, on the customer end, it is nice to see a decrease as far as complaints in that area.
And Mr. Cooksey, on the
Yes.
reliability, every now and then, I ask you if those are a lot of complaints about a few routes, or are they pretty well distributed? Have you had a chance to look at that?
Yeah, I think on the last deeper dive we looked at, there was around about 50% of the routes. We were reporting that out, so that still remains about the same. There's been no movement in that number.
Okay.
Usually I do a little bit deeper dive, but this month I wanted to just quickly talk about something that's pretty near to me and to our organization and to the Comet. And that was an event, it was a community engagement event that the team and I participated in back in December. We were contacted by Eclair High School, and they have a CDL programs. So they asked us, hey, could you come in and talk to some of our students about the life of, in transportation and, what is it like? So we had an opportunity, kind of put some little goodies together and had an opportunity to go out and talk to the class and really just, one of the great things about it and what we really enjoyed was in addition to the driving piece, but it's also the other things that sometimes at that area you're not taught about, like how to interview, how to prepare yourself for your interview, things that once you get in your career, things to look out for and to kind of better understand and guide you through, because they're going to teach you how to drive, but what about some of the other soft skills? What about the customer service part of it? Sometimes we think, well, I'm just a driver, I'm just an operator, I'm just moving equipment. No, there's customer service piece of it. Even if you're in mass transit, which we're in, or if you're driving a truck delivering goods, there's still a customer service component to it. And excellence is required in all areas. So we had an opportunity to go out and do that and talk with them. So I just wanted to talk about that briefly and let you know, that's part of our community engagement. And also there's Transportation Day coming up. We'll be working with the Comet on that, and Miss Bino Reed, and actually going back out to the school to speak and be a part of, be a part of the community and showing that this is a great career. Transportation is a wonderful thing, and you can feed your families, and you can provide a lifelong, it's just a lifelong opportunity. And we want to be the ones to push that message out, because we're the ones doing the work and can give you real, true information to help you and guide you. So I just wanted to share that.
Well, that sounds like an excellent community contact, and it just keeps reinforcing for me something that I think is very important to me, and that is that the Comet is more than just a bus system. It's really an integral part of our community. And I think what you're illustrating is that when you make the kind of contacts that inform young people about careers in public transportation and about public transportation in general, and as you pointed out, the kind of working skills that people need to work in this field that are applicable to other fields, I think that's an excellent initiative. Now, did you say it was one class in the school? What was the group within? And I'll tell you, when you move to this area, we have to tell you local pronunciation. So that's, we say Eau Claire.
Eau Claire, yeah. What I call it, eclair? I'm thinking of the donut, right?
I know, you must have been hungry.
Eau Claire. So thank you for correcting me on that. But yeah, that's their CDL program. So it was one particular class that we spoke to.
CDL is? Commercial
Driver's License Program.
They are teaching people. I got you. I missed that part. So these are students that are actually getting their commercial driver's license.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
The day that's coming up, is that a general career day, or is that whole day focused on transportation?
My understanding, that whole day is focused on transportation. On the flyer that was presented to me, it appeared to be that whole day is focused on transportation. I know that's our focus going in, and I'll be taking a team of locals here, and I believe Pam, you'll be there as well. And part of the whole thing, we're kind of combining our talents on that whole thing. So, that's our focus is what we do. So
Okay, very good. That either Ms. Gleaton, Mr. Burgess, you have any questions for Mr. Cooksey on that?
Yes, I do. I have a question.
Okay.
Is that going to include only just Eau Claire High School, not C.A. Johnson or any of the other high schools?
Pam, do you know if anyone else is part of that?
So what's going on at Eau Claire, that's something that they have annually just at Eau Claire High School.
That's okay. Thank you. That's
Yes.
what I wanted to make sure.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So now anything else? So you can go ahead and proceed, Mr. Cooksey.
Yes. Jumping over or taking our next step forward in maintenance. Again, we're continuing to meet our preventive maintenance goal. So very, very proud of that, still at a 100%. In fact, it's our maintenance manager, Ron. This is, as he calls it, his baby. So he's so proud of being able to continue to do this. You can just see the pride all over him and his team as they, they work hard to make sure we're hitting that goal. And that one also coincides with our distance between road calls. And we had a better month in January than we did in December and November. So very happy very impressed that we were able to do that. Even considering some of the very challenging cold days, cold weather, and our late starts and all the things they had to deal with as well, in reference to us all, in the height of our Omicron Delta situations, with our staffing. So they did an excellent job of getting this done. So kudos to them to get better. I also included, like similar to last week, just our maintenance campaigns. And, at some point, we should probably have someone who can come in and talk a little bit more in depth about the current project in reference to the hydrogen electric bus project. So I added this in just to kind of keep you abreast of this. I know recently Ron and along with the Comet team had an opportunity to go out on the yard and the bus yard and look at some locations for the recharging stations for these particular buses here on the campus. So as this is really getting geared up, we'll be bringing more information as we get more information and to share out on what this project looks like and so forth in the timeline. As far as our on-time performance, we had an increase over December of 3%. And also we had a slight increase over December in our paratransit as well. So obviously not the ultimate goal that we're all working towards now in reference to the on-time performance project, but any step forward is a step forward. And so I did want to make sure that we're reporting that out.
Okay, and can I just pause there a minute and ask Mr. Hubble if he wants to add anything in terms of specifics of areas they're working on? He's working on together with you to get the 42% even higher.
There I am. I'm off mute. Thanks. Thanks, Madam Chair. I appreciate it. Yes, we are, as I was telling the team this morning, finish line is in sight. We are trending right now for a mid-April implementation of a very substantial change to running times and adjustments to running times. Really, the customers, frankly, not going to see much difference on the street other than a far greater predictability. Just finished up with the team. We will be presenting the results of our efforts to the leadership team on Monday, to Mr. Deschamps and Mr. Cooksey, to brief them and get their endorsements so that we can move forward to do all of the technical things that we need to accomplish to implement this service modification in mid-April. So we're real excited about the progress.
All right, and so I'm understanding you to say this is not something that involves a change in scheduling in terms of riders, but just a greater reliability of the schedules that they have?
Correct. We are adjusting, just as examples, if the route is inbound and outbound loop is an hour total, we're adjusting. We're seeing that running times outbound might be 35 minutes and inbound is only 25 minutes during certain portions of the day. So we're adjusting those rather than 30 and 30. We're adjusting them to, frankly, what is empirical reality, and also adjusting and compensating for certain times of the day, because you do experience peak traffic flows in the typical early morning and late afternoon, and we're adjusting some of those running times to account for those empirical running times that occur due to traffic.
I see. Okay. Any of you have any questions for Mr. Hubble or Mr. Cooksey on this, on the on-time performance?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. So we'll move on, Mr. Cooksey.
Yes, Madam Chair. So as far as we'll go ahead and leap over to our ridership summary. We did see a decrease in our ridership. It's safe to say, in addition to, our current trends on ridership, since the beginning of the pandemic and the challenges that everyone's facing, we did feel the impact of the coronavirus the first couple of weeks of the month. But in addition to that, we also had, very cold weather. In fact, there were, I believe, if I'm off the top, there may have been 4 days that were impacted or with you know, snow or ice that impacted our delayed start times and finish times. And you know, I don't know, is this the normal winter cold weather? Because man, it was pretty chilly. So at least to me it was.
And what are you getting, or the drivers getting from riders about what the experience is like when we have to do those delayed starts, which I understand because we don't want buses on black ice. I mean, I get it.
Right.
But how do riders adapt to that? Do most of their employers doing the same thing, or are they?
Yeah,
Tell
I mean,
me, what do you know
it
about that?
well, it appears that that a lot of the businesses follow suit. You know, we didn't see it in our customer service complaints, you know, of people calling in. You know, there wasn't a spike that was specific around that area. What I can tell you that we got better with in doing this is communicating to the public, because, you know, through our social media and as well as on the buses, you know, we were able to send messages through our system that actually made announcements letting customers know that there'll be delayed starts or that we're ending early. So, and, you know, so I think that type of communication, and there, you know, there was obviously a number where people could call in. So I think we did a good job of kind of handling that situation to get as much information as we could get out there. So, you know, if I'm looking at just on what it's been reported back from customer concerns, it wouldn't show that we had a high number of complaints in that area saying we didn't let us know.
Couldn't get to work.
Couldn't get to work, and so forth. And, you know, based on that, as far as what I've seen, I don't know if others on the call or in here have anything they want to add to that, but that's what I saw.
And is our system for the for riders being able to monitor where the bus is and when it will arrive, is that working well now?
Yes, we are able to see through our automatic vehicle locator. We can actually see where the buses are located, and it also informs us if it's running late or if it's ahead of schedule, if it's on time. So all of that is being monitored through our dispatch center.
And our riders can get that on their phones too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they can see that, right? Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
They can, so they'll be able to pull up their app and see the location of where the bus is at.
Okay. One day I'm gonna get
helps.
smart enough to use that.
Yeah. Yep, that's a great, I remember the days when that wasn't available. And so you'd be standing at the bus stop, you have no idea that the bus is coming or what the case is. Now, you can actually, it changes your life. That was a life-changing tool, because now you know, I can look at it and know, okay, it's 15 minutes away. So maybe now I have an opportunity, let me run back in the store. Maybe I need to use the restroom, or I need to do X, Y, Z, because I know I have this amount of time rather than just sitting there and with no idea. So
Right.
Yep,
That's a wonderful addition.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
you want to say more about the previous month's comparison, or?
Yeah, previous month, again, ridership down. It still kind of follows our trend on what we've been seeing. So,
Well, here's the thing that was interesting to me looking at the graph on page 30, is that it looks like our fixed routes are they may be even a slight increase in the corridor and the local and even on the connectors, but the decrease was in the university routes. Am I reading that right?
You are, and what you're seeing there is because we've had a reduced service the 3rd of January through the 9th. We also had, our January 17th MLK Day and our delayed weather start. So that service was really down, and that's mostly because school was out. And, so we had those days we weren't running as much service, so that was the impact there. So you are looking at that correctly.
Okay.
And that was me kind of leaping ahead to the point I wanted to make when I was looking at the USC ridership, and kind of comparing that to what was going on. And I noted that at the bottom in those 4 bullet points on that particular USC slide.
All right, so just out of curiosity,
Yes.
so we're running the routes that we see on our schedule for the university, and we're running additional routes like to the football games. But then the university is still operating its own shuttle service for other needs.
That's to my understanding. Yes, that's correct. Yes.
So
ma'am.
we really don't have any interaction with them on that.
No, ma'am.
I mean, I don't want to take too much of our time, but for years I've ridden the shuttle that goes from Pendleton Street to the arena for the women's basketball games. And so this season, when I looked online, it said that wasn't running anymore. And at one of the recent games, I happened to go by Pendleton Street and the bus was there. So I stopped and asked the folks there, and they said, "Oh yeah, we've been here every game." And I thought, "Oh my goodness, how are you even having anybody come ride if your media tells people that bus isn't running?" So I just wanted to be sure that that wouldn't have anything to do with our service, but that's what you're telling me, that whatever they're doing for those extra, the buses and the drivers and the service are all, that's the university's.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
That's good. Okay.
No problem.
All right. You want to go ahead?
Yes, ma'am. So looking at our safety for the month of January, I am excited to report that we have secured a safety manager.
Okay.
After a long, extensive search, we have a gentleman by the name of, he signed and committed to us, Mr. Charles Hall. Will be starting on the 21st of this month, and he brings a wealth of knowledge in this area, and as far as safety programs. And so I know we've been hanging in there doing a pretty good job so far, but this is just going to strengthen us even more to kind of build out our safety programs. I mean, I'm looking at kind of taking a look at doing kind of revamping our refresher programs for our experienced drivers, also incorporating in more customer experience, customer engagement training, and kind of coinciding that with our safety, because customer service is a safety measure. If you treat people well, and with empathy and respect, that in itself is also part of our safety culture that we need to make sure we're maintaining. So just want to announce that he'll be coming on board. Very excited about that. We did have an uptick in January in our preventable accidents. However, they were minor. 2 of them were what we call mirror taps, where the mirror tapped the bus stop sign. No damage, but we got to, it is a preventable. We had to report that. And then one we had of those, we had an operator make contact with a power line, and no damage, no one injured, but that one's actually under review. So we're gonna see if we end up staying at 4, if it ends up being 3. We're just kind of really looking at all the conditions of that, and having our corporate office kind of weigh in on that one as well.
I'm trying to imagine in what kind of situations the bus would even have an opportunity to
do. Well, it was during that inclement weather. It's one of the lines.
Oh, when you might have had a line that was either sagging or.
It was sagging. It was sagging. It wasn't completely down. It was sagging, and they made contact with the line. So anytime you do that, it's questionable. Was it the condition of the situation that caused it, or was it preventable, right? So that's where you kind of have to weigh out that. And again, we have that one under review. We graded it that way as a preventable, and if it's reversed, we'll move it back to 3. If not, we're at 4. No injuries or lost time on those particular ones. But I just wanted to mention that we had some minor things that happened this month that normally.
All right, so what accounts for the difference? I'm looking at the chart on page 36. The difference in the 4.03 that you cited in the previous chart and slide, and the 11. What is the 11 revenue
Well,
incident?
yeah, the 4.03, we're just counting every accident. So whether it's preventable or non-preventable, that's everything combined.
That's in the revenue incidents.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, we took everything and it's just one collective number. And, you know, of course, you have your two grading scenarios of preventable and non-preventable, but we just took the total collisions as a whole. So that's what you see there. One of the things that Mr. Hall will be tapped, you know, when he comes in, is really going back, reviewing all of our incidents and preventables and collisions in general for the entire year, because sometimes you may have something graded as non-preventable, but there's some training or techniques that we could have shared or taught that could have even avoided those situations. So, you know, that'll be a part of looking back to strengthen us for 22, so we can continue to work to drive the numbers down. So, because we're having like just too many minor things like mirror taps, and those things are really avoidable. And unfortunately, you hate to have them count against you, but that you know, that is the criteria. So.
All right, so, and I'm always interested in injuries.
Yes.
There were 2 injuries.
We do. I don't have, and I can double back and share, I don't believe there were any serious injuries, but I have to find out exactly what they're classifying as an injury. And
we count in there whether those are to our staff or to passengers.
Those injuries would be to our staff. If an operator was injured, right, it could have been a slip and fall, which is possible. That's why I need to circle back and see where they classified that.
All right.
I do have a little bit of a treat. I'm calling it a treat, and promise you it won't take very long at all. I always talk about, or have been at least for the last several months, talked about us reaching full head count and then comparing it to the rest of the nation who's struggling in this area, especially with commercial driver's license staff. We are at full head count, so very excited about that. But I have on the line the individual that actually made that happen. Her name is Courtney, and I asked her, I put a couple of slides in here because I wanted her to just take a minute to share how we got from the crisis mode we were in just months ago to where we are today. You know, what does she do that's so different that, you know, than anyone else? Or maybe the same, maybe it's the way she's articulating it. So Courtney, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, everyone.
Fantastic. Can you just take a minute to share with everyone your success and what you're doing?
Sure. So when I got here back in May, I think it was May 17th, the week before, I had already did some research on the area to kind of find out exactly why we were having issues with hiring and just some of the things that applicants or potential applicants are looking for. And so after I did that, I made an appointment to speak with someone at SC Works and created an account with them. By us doing that, SC Works is a free resource in the city. We're able to post jobs. We were able to become a preferred employer as well for SC Works. And by that, we were able to start doing massive hiring, interviewing, talking to applicants about the comment, what the comment does, and just kind of scouting out some potentially really, really good applicants. And we did that. And we were able to hold classes the size of, I think the biggest class we had here was like 19 people, and 12 of the 19 are still here. And so we've been doing that. We've kind of slowed it down with the numbers because we didn't need as many people, but we've been able to maintain that. And I think mostly with the interviewing that we do, we always expand on the benefits. We expand on the work-life balance here, the oriented family, the uniforms, and we do things like that to kind of give perks, I guess, for lack of better words, or kind of expound on the responsibility. And I always tell drivers, you have a big responsibility here at the Commons to move the city around on time and safely. And so they've kind of grasped that concept, and it has worked for us. We actually have a waiting list. I know when I came in this morning, I had 7 people who told me that they was just checking back, they was following up. Because I asked them to follow up from December, and they're doing that. So we have a waiting list right now, although we are fully staffed. Now we have had to purge and kind of purge out the bad apples, which has really, really worked with us, because I can see a positive impact with the staff and just communication and even showing up on time, dressing appropriate, all of that. So it's really working for us. And I do forecast that this will continue to work. But it was definitely a team effort. The support of Lenny, the support of Pam, communicating with her. I know recently I kind of called Pam at the spare of the moment, and I know she's going to forgive me for doing this, but we were communicating about creating a apprenticeship or internship program for students at Richland One who are in that CDL program. Because just as Lenny talked about earlier in the presentation, is that although you can go to school for anything and get the knowledge-based skills, but you've got to have the basic skills and the soft skills, what it means to show up to work on time, what it means to dress appropriately, safety, all of that. You have to have that. That's important. And so by creating this 12-week apprenticeship internship program, we want to provide those skills to them, so that even if they decide not to go with the Comet later on, because I think they're like 18 and 19, they will still be able to say, I remember what I was taught at the Comet, and they can take it anywhere they go, whether it's Burger King, Food Lion, wherever, because most of them in those particular schools, I know, such as Title I, a lot of times, and they share it with us, we don't really want to go to college. We just want to be able to get a job so that we can take care of our families and provide for ourselves. And we want to make sure that we are assisting with doing that, and we are part of their journey.
Well, I think that sounds wonderful. And I think about how many other kind of commercial driving jobs there are, with as many people ordering things online and stores delivering things. So I think you're helping out the community, as well as I'm really impressed that you have a waiting list of people who to be hired. That is a big turnaround.
Yes, absolutely.
Mr. Fergus, Ms. Gleaton, do you have any questions for Courtney?
Yes, Madam Chair.
It has been such a wonderful idea, and y'all have done such a good job as Pam and them in trying to reach out there to the young people, because a lot of them don't understand that unless we reach out there to them.
Yes, ma'am.
You're doing a wonderful job. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I would just like to say, with impressing upon these interns about appearance and that they are really Comet ambassadors, that should, really carry on in life, really, But thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for that part of the report.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I have a question. Do you, it's in the planning stages now, but do you want the, I guess, results of the apprenticeship program agendized?
That would be good to let us know where that stands. Right. Okay.
All right.
Put it on the next agenda. Okay. All right. Mr. Cooksey, any more from you? The only thing I have left on my screen is just the summary.
Yes, ma'am, just real quick. And I actually needed to circle back in something that I had mentioned earlier, and I may have misunderstood the question, and it's from Mr. Fergus. And it was during the board meeting, but it was in reference to the bus stop cleaning. Because when I came on board and kind of really took the helms here in September, I guess the question had been raised in the reference of, had the bus stop cleaning at any point stopped happening, or the contract had ended with the previous contractor. And during my, and actually it had at July 31st of 2021, I took the reins in September. So that month of August, not really aware of all the dynamics of that. Even though we continued to do the service, we kind of brought it in-house till that was worked out. But under my leadership, it had not stopped, as far as how I answered. So I just wanted to go back and kind of clear that up, just to make sure there was no misunderstanding in what I was saying. We're currently looking at extending our, with that particular vendor, extending the current arrangement we have that's good through April the 30th of this year, in reference to our bus stop cleaning and so forth. So again, the organization's looking at extending that out, and we're in the process of working through that. And I'm in, communications on a regular basis with Mr. Ivory, who performs that service. But I just want to clear that up just to make sure I probably didn't hear that well as when I started, what was happening right at that time and what's going on now. So I just wanted to speak about that.
Okay.
Madam
Mr.
Chair.
Burgess?
Yes. I had some concerns about those bus stop cleaning because I live in the Two Notch Road area, and it would be real hard for 3 board members that live in the same area and dirty stops all the way up to Northeast. But some of that, I have to say, a lot of that is city fault, so we can't put it all on the bus stop. But with our contract, my concern with that contract is, before John left, John took part of that contract away from this firm for non-compliance.
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering what's the key with this firm. See, that's was my concern, because I was told one time this thing was over. They were gonna get another firm, put it up for bid. And then the last board meeting, I was told that the same firm is still doing the bus cleanup. Has there been an improvement or what?
Mr. Cooksey, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I'll
I
need
think,
some time.
but as I understood the question, there was a question about the quality of this vendor's performance earlier, and Mr. Burgess's question is has that been resolved in some way, or on what basis are we considering extending the contract? Is that right, Mr. Burgess?
That's correct.
I'm not privy to anything prior to me as far as, or been brought to my knowledge on, what John had done previously in reference to the performance of that. Even as of today, no one has come back, at least it's not gotten to me, that there was a dissatisfaction in as far as what work was being done. So, that I will gladly look into further.
Well, and I know that we count on the public to let us know if they're not happy, and board members and everybody else if they notice things at bus stops. But I'm so mindful of the fact that we really have our own surveillance system running every day, because the drivers stop at every one of these stops. And so I hope that they are attuned to letting you know if they notice things that are not in order the way that we'd like them to be as they see these stops every day.
Well, what I can do, because the data that we do pull on customers calling in, I mean, they call in for lots of stuff, and I can go back and pull it and look at what's coming in reference to our bus stops and what areas of concern are showing that what the customers are calling in, and do a little deeper dive on what that looks like. And
that might be a good idea while you're in the process.
That gives me a better idea, and Mr.
of
Fergus
negotiating
and everyone here.
The contract, right?
Let's see what it looks like in those areas.
Okay. All right. Is that it? Is that it for the RAP Dev report now?
Yes, ma'am, that's it
All
for
right,
me.
thank you. All right, Eric, is Eric with us? Or Blake, are you covering the report on the ridership analysis and the soda cap improvement?
Eric is here.
I am
Oh,
here.
Eric's here too. I hadn't seen it. Oh, there he is. There he is. Okay. So
All
over to
right,
you, Eric.
all right. Thank you to the members of the committee. For the month of December, ridership is down by 25,000 passengers from the month of November to date. As I suggested to the committee last month, this is more of an ongoing trend, considering the more people are taking off of work, not willing to stand at the bus stop due to weather and many other factors. But in this case, as Mr. Fergus has suggested, when removing U of SC service out of the analysis, we start to see ridership is actually trending in an upward direction from the previous month. So for weekdays ridership, all routes are either steady or trending in the right direction. And as it stands, ridership is down by 13%, but we are up by 3% when excluding university service from that analysis. This is not quite the same narrative for Saturday and Sunday service, where majority of the routes are down, except for Route 9. And again, this may be due to the pandemic and things of that nature. I can call out the routes that are more so doing well, but it's Route 32, which is North Main, Hard Scrabble, Route 47, Eastover, Gaston. That's a reflex route. 57L, that's Killian and Clemson local route. 75, that's Decker and Park Lane. 76 is Fort Jackson. 77, no, not 77, 84 is Dutch Square. 92X, which is 12th Extension, which is in that Lexington area. And 701 and 801. 701 is Forest Acres and 801 is Broad River. Now one moment. Okay, so as of right now, we did go through an extensive analysis with what we want to do with the soda cap routes. Just transition the conversation. So we took a look at routes 1, 2, 3, and 4. And while they all have similarities and characteristics, we understand that one thing that they all have in common is that they have a target audience, and they're all different. So for Route 1, we understand that the target audience is that Lexington, West Columbia connection into the downtown core, where it goes through the Vista in those corridors. Route 2, we understand that it caters more so to the student this is our game day shuttle for the Fireflies. And what we understand.
No, that's 3.
That's 3. You're right at 2.
Oh, 2. I'm mixing myself up. There we go. Route 2. Yeah, we understand that it cater to the university students. So we've already started to schedule meetings with Alan and Benedict, and Pam has been working really well with making sure that we get all this stuff together. But we're working to schedule those meetings. A few have been scheduled, but we want to meet with those universities to see how their populations are starting to trend over the next couple of years, and how did it trend over the pandemic? So how do we need to restructure this route in order to meet the needs of your new student population? We have received interest from students to date, but we were slow to implement service due to COVID, and also not having a full understanding of what the service type will look like as it relates to service demands. Also, again, taking a look at Route 3.
Now, before you go to 3, on 2, that was the one that also included 5 points. So you're looking at not only serving those universities, but what would the route look like altogether in terms of
Absolutely.
5 points?
Right.
Absolutely. And so the central location that most students are trying to get to is the 5 Points area. So we want to see, are students still utilizing the bus to get to these places? Or is this a place, and I know Pam, she has something, but we want to take a look at those ridership trends, and we have to find a way to monitor that to make sure we have the most applicable service on the road. But Pam, you have something?
Yeah, and I would also like to add that with Route 2, it's, of course, it's Alan and Benedict and going over to 5 points, but encapsulated within that route, we're also in discussion and setting up meetings with Historic Columbia for some of those historic tours that go around that way, because as Mr. Fergus pointed out, SodaCap was initially presented as something that helps tourism and arts and entertainment. So we want to be true to that mission to make sure that we have them included along the way. And, you know, we're really, this is really just kind of a high-level overview of how we're attacking this. Of course, we will include Mr. Fergus and you, Ms. Mood, in on when we actually kind of get to the nuts and bolts of what the plan is, you know, but we wanted to make sure that we identified the stakeholders and the people who we need to talk to, whether it's the business districts or whether it's the schools. So that's kind of where we are right now.
Well, and I'm thinking too, and I don't stay fully informed on Columbia news, but it seems to me I was reading too where the 5 Points area is looking at how to reconfigure their traffic patterns within 5 Points to be more pedestrian oriented, which may have an impact on what our route would look like. I mean, we may be taking people to the fringe of that, which might make it a more efficient route. I'm thinking that when you're contacting people, whoever's responsible for that redesigning the traffic generally at 5 Points would be a key player, I would think.
Yes.
And Eric, we're not going to really have any trends in ridership data because that's been suspended now for so long. So that's going to be a little bit more challenging in terms of, okay. All right.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And
All right,
that's
so
why,
go on to 3.
yeah, having those conversations is going to help us to try to shape what that will look like. But moving on to Route 3.
Before you move on to Route 3, let
Yes,
me
Mr.
say something.
Mhm.
These are SodaCap connectors. When they were established, they were strictly tourist oriented. Now, just my thoughts now, chime in anytime. If we commingle tourists with bus transportation, regular bus transportation, we are negating the tourist aspect of it. And I don't care what we set up, it don't take but a stroke of a pen to eliminate it. And if we commingle that with our traffic, regular bus ridership, we aren't making any money because the SodaCap connector will be cheaper than the regular bus route. So we got a university bus system, we have a city bus system. When we set up SodaCap connector, it was 2, and it was strictly tourism right around, and we didn't count student ridership on anything. It was, established for the city and people coming in to the city. So whether students at USC got on it, it didn't matter. Students from Allen or Benedict, but we didn't cater to them. Set up routes to say this will be for, we went through 5 Points because that's a major tourist attraction, but we didn't care whether students rode it to 5 Points or tourists rode it to 5 Points. And it was free. Originally, that was our thinking, So I would just recommend, since on our committee, we have a city councilman and the county councilman, that the board members sit there with a map and we get in the meeting room and hash something out that if we decide to take it out, it doesn't impact ridership at all. Because, if you lived in Columbia, you've seen every type tourist ridership, even golf carts going down Main Street.
So I hear what you're saying about if these routes, as we know they are, that people are dependent on them, particularly Route 1 for regular transportation service, then we need to be looking in the plan at how are we setting that up to either disadvantage regular fixed ride service or just supplement it? But I hear what you're saying,
Yeah,
that we don't want to be competing against ourselves,
that's correct. Right.
but we want to be able to offer the service broadly. And I know that the fare revenue is one part of it, but I also know that we get our federal funding and maybe some of our state funding is it depends on how many people are riding, and they're not asking who's paying and what are they paying. They're counting how many people are getting service from us. So we don't want to do anything that disrupts
And we do
that
not get
either.
we do not use any hospitality funds for the Soda Cap Connector. Councilman Green thought maybe we did. We get none that's used for Soda Cap Connector.
You mean we only use hospitality funds for the Soda Cap Connector?
We
Is that
don't
what you're
use any. We get none.
Well, that's
for the
that.
Soda Cap Connector.
Well, Eric and Pam, put that kind of question into the system that you're
But
thinking,
I'm
because I
thinking
think
it's so
all of these
many of us.
are things to
The
consider.
reason Madam Chair, the reason I'm saying that, it's so many of us have lived in Columbia forever, and this bus, the Soda Cap Connector, was downtown area, 5 Points, Bull, and things like that. If we have any section of town that needs and depends on transportation, we got 50-something buses we can route to that. They shouldn't be on the Soda Cap Connector anyway. See, because that shouldn't be a fast bus.
That our basic
that
bus
you get.
service shouldn't depend on that, is what you're saying.
Right. And
Right.
saying that Soda Cap should be a slow ride because it's tourists. See,
Well, here's what I recall from back in the dark ages when we were first talking about this, is that one impetus for the downtown circulator, which was the Soda Cap, was
right.
was that we were looking at a couple of things. One was traffic congestion in the central downtown area, and looking at the fact that if you have people who work downtown and then they park in the garages or they park wherever their designated spaces are, and then at lunchtime they go out and they get the cars out of the parking garage and they go to lunch, and then an hour they come back and they go back in, that we're just that contributed a lot to the downtown traffic congestion. So that one impetus for the Soda Cap was, or the downtown circulator, whatever we were going to call it, was that people could come out of their offices, get a bus that wasn't a long bus route, that could just get them to other places for lunch or for lunch meetings or things, and you weren't taking cars in and out and adding to the congestion. So that was one impetus. The other one, as you point out, was that this would be a boon to people who were visitors to the area, particularly people who didn't come by car. If you flew into Columbia and you were going to be staying here for a meeting or a conference or something, that you'd have a ready-made way to get around the downtown area without having to go rent a car or a cab ride, or to take regular trips around. And then the third thing you're pointing out is also valid, and that is people for whom the Columbia area is a tourist destination. And so, you and I, Mr. Purchase, have talked some about the kinds of buses that you see in some cities where it's a kind of hop on, hop off bus that where people kind of get a lay of the land for the city, and then can stop at some places that they want to stop at longer and then get back on, which is a little bit different concept. And I don't know if in other cities all of those are just privately owned businesses. Eric, you and Pam can look into that. But
that's what I'm saying.
But that would need to be a wider reach than the Soda Cap routes as they now stand, because a lot of the tourist attractions would not be on a downtown circulator. So I think that's why this whole idea of how do we kind of
I
take a
rode,
deep breath and a fresh look at what is it that we're trying to accomplish with this service, and how do we best structure it so that to accomplish those purposes, and not just have a, as you described, Mr. Burgess, not just have a muddle of a lot of things poured into one pot that maybe doesn't serve any of those constituencies as well as we'd like.
no, and I don't think we should be competing against ourselves, but just for an example, I rode the entire, the thing that I sent you. I didn't share that with anybody but you, but it took me less than an hour and a half riding that entire design thing, and that touched everything, University, around Richland Street, Bull Street, 5 Points. And when you come to Columbia and you go Vista, and it covered Sumter Street and North Main, which is growing, and that still was less than an hour and a half, But that concept should be, we should be motivated by if the tourist industry want to buy those passes. If they aren't concerned about those paying for it at that reduced rate, that I shared with you, then we should lose some of our motivation, because those are the ones that benefit everything with the Soda Cap Connector benefits industry, the hotel, restaurants, which if they saw something that looked good, that big bus is never looked good. Everybody,
Sure. And
but
Mr.
we do
Burgess,
have 2 trolleys and can possibly get another trolley just so, since they on the market, because, other cities, for some reason, try it out, then they change their mind. But to make it work, we just have to be real thoughtful
right.
with what, and keep tourists in mind rather than residents of the city. If we
And I do think it does help us to look and see what is working in other places. I know I've probably told you all of going to a city where flying in, and when I checked into my hotel, they gave me a bus pass, and it was good for my stay. And they gave me a map, and the concierge at the hotel gave me a little tutorial, and from then on, that's what I did.
And, and Madam Chair, may I interject? And I apologize, Mr. Burgess, I didn't mention hotels. We are setting up meetings with the downtown hotels. And Ms. Moot, to your point, that's our goal. Our goal is to create a partnership with places like the Marriott, to where they're giving people passes to get on Soda Cap, but they have pre-purchased those passes. So we're still getting the revenue.
Right.
We're also getting the ridership to go along with that.
Right. And when you think about the cost of a pass as a part of a hotel bill, it's just not a big deal. But it is a very convenient thing. It is a very convenient thing. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that progress report, and we'll continue to stay with you on this as you proceed. So Pam, we'll just make this something we probably talk about each month, unless you tell me something different. Okay. Thanks, Eric. All right. So we are now to 5E passes. Rosalind?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
All right. And so I'll tell you how this question came up to be on our agenda. I have a friend, and she and her sister buy bus passes and give them to people who need bus passes. They just do that on the weekends. And so I'm grateful to them for doing it. But when they tried to buy some all-day passes, they were told that we wouldn't have any all-day passes to sell until March. And I thought, that can't be true. So Rosalind sent me an explanation about how we order those, but I still am puzzled, Rosalind, and so I thought, I didn't know if the service committee members even were aware of this, but I'd like for us to just be informed on what's going on, because I was having trouble figuring out how do we increase ridership if we tell people we don't have passes. So would you help us with that?
Yes, ma'am, I will. So your friends and other organizations and individuals do the same thing. They like to purchase passes that they like to hand out to the public. The response, I guess, from my customer service people not being there, I don't know how they related. But what the issue is, due to COVID, a lot of vendors are having delayed shipping time. So we are still selling and we still do have on hand all day passes. But what I've done, because our stock is so low, like we're down to 1,000 passes, is limiting our bulk sales to organizations and trying to make sure we still take care of our riders, the everyday rider that wants to buy an all-day pass. Because if we sell in bulk to individuals who want to buy them, because we have agencies that buy 1,000 at a time. If we sell them all to them, then we'll have nothing left to give to our riders. And I think that would be a bigger problem than telling the organization, can you hold off until we get our anticipated delivery, which at this point they're telling us won't be until March. So we have.
So it's really a supply chain issue, and it's really trying to not give too much of our existing to supply to one entity. I can tell you, my friend and her sister are not buying 1,000 passes. I'll tell you that. But just limiting the making sure that we cover the places that are established customers that have to purchase those on a regular basis.
I'm actually making sure we cover our riders, not the agencies or the outside organizations. Like I say, I know Prisma Health gives them out to their riders. So we have what we call agency passes that I have for them that I just said, okay, I can accommodate you with these. But like I say, for anyone else, I would rather John Q be able to go get his pass versus somebody who walked up to buy 10 and 20 passes.
All right, so can you help me understand too, Rosalind? What do you understand about the supply chain holdup? I mean, I'm thinking about, aren't we talking about pieces of paper? I mean, how
not
what is it?
It's not necessarily. It's not necessarily just a piece of paper. Those passes have to be programmed. And to go back and go further into where we order these passes for, that organization initially filed bankruptcy and was not sure where they were going to go next. So in that, I was having to dig around to see if we could find someone else.
I see.
At that point, they were bought out by another agency and was able to still keep going. But again, they had to come back to a level of giving, service and hiring people to get, because COVID, people lost employees, almost lost business, as you should be aware. So we placed our order, and so from placing the order, like say, I don't know if you looked at a pass, but on the back is a magnetic strip. Those magnetic strips have to be programmed with our rider, with our information.
So that the fare box can read it,
Right, so they can be accepted. So they have to be made because our passes are custom to us. So they're not a generic pass with where you go to the fare box and buy one that just have a bunch of mumbo jumbo in front. If you look at all our passes, we have this design, is a design we created. So first they have to create that pass, make that pass, then they have to program each pass. Then they sent me some, she actually sent me some here to test. We tested, they're working. They work fine. I send them back and then they go into production.
I got you.
So
well, that helps me understand the process better, and I think I can explain that to the folks that were asking me too. So and then in the meanwhile, people can do this electronically on their phones without.
Correct. If they have our mobile app, they can still buy the passes and use it via the app. But the only thing is the actual physical ticket. I'm trying to limit what we sell huge quantities to the public, so riders who actually need them can come up and still have a pass.
I've got you. All right. Well, that answers my question, and I appreciate you taking time to explain it to us today. And Mr. Fergus, Ms. Gleaton, do you have any questions about that?
I have a question. Okay.
Now, Ms. Gleaton, I can barely hear her.
Okay.
It's my turn?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I've noticed, like, when they get on the bus, if someone gets on the bus in the morning or something like that, and they put $2 in there, that's only for them to ride just one way? Or they can ride all day with that $2, or how does that go if they're at a certain age bracket? Because I heard a lady ask that question one day.
Can you repeat her question to me? I can barely hear.
So what she's asking is, she saw a lady put $2 in the fare box, And is that good? I think she was an older lady, Miss Clayton?
Yes, ma'am.
She was an older lady, and the question was, is that good for all day, or is that just good for one way?
One way.
So if she qualified to get the discount pass, $2 gets her an all-day pass. If she's not, then that $2 is just a one-way pass.
Okay.
And that's because for people that are eligible, and they have to be certified as eligible, they ride for half price.
It's for seniors who are 65 and older, persons who went through the ABLE process and deemed qualifying for our half-fare program.
Okay,
So
so seniors don't have to go through the eligibility, or they do?
They just have to show that they're 65 and older and they're able to ride.
Okay.
Okay.
They just show the bus driver that?
Yes. So we've come around to just showing your
I
ID,
heard
but
you ask the question. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much for clearing that up.
okay.
Good.
All right,
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Burgess.
since you say this is a rare occurrence, is it any way that, is Rosalind still on?
I
That we
am.
can use something like a card with a date stamp, and since it's a temporary occurrence, that the technician could sign, the clerk could sign and date stamp it, and we know it's good for that day. It's just,
You mean to try to
just
get us
have 'em-
through this hump between the time that the shipment comes in?
yes, just, just in case somebody walks up and say, well, I want one, we can date stamp it. And when you can get a number ticket, so they would be accountable.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it sounds like to get over the hurdle, what we're doing right now is just either using the phone app or cash. Is that right, Rosalind?
No, ma'am. Okay, so let me try to get on both, because you both were saying something different to me. So Mr.
Yeah.
Fergus, just so you understand, we still have all-day passes on hand. We have enough to where, using my brain, not to say a whole lot, but using what I'm used to, selling those to the public. Like say, if you were to walk up and you want one, Pam walks up, she want one, selling it to one by one to the general public, the riders that ride every day, those who come up and have the bigger need for the all-day pass. I'm limiting those sales, what I would call bulk sales, to agencies or organizations or individuals who, like Miss Little Friend, wants to hand out maybe 10, 20 tickets to generic riders. So that's where that is. But
Okay.
yeah, so Ms. Lil, to your question, we take cash, credit card, check, we take all payments. So they can still go to the window and buy a pass with those forms of pass. Or like you said, if the individual ride has our app, they can also buy. So we are not out of all-day passes. We have all-day passes on hand. It's just,
I've got you.
I'm
You're
trying
just
to
not doing the bulk
quantity.
ones until
Yes.
All right. So we don't have to set up an interim system. We're okay if we just
Correct.
do this. Okay.
Correct.
All right. So would you go on then and tell us about the Uber partnership?
Yes, ma'am, I can. So in the finance committee, I'm not sure if any of you were there, but it's been brought up several times. If you look at the packet, even when I put it in the board packet, the amount of money that we're paying out to Uber and Lyft in the $8 allowance that we give the riders. So it initially all started to help build our ridership. And I heard one of you said earlier, building our ridership helps with the money that we get from the FTA. So as it's come from July 1 to this point here, we've almost paid Uber almost $500,000. The good part and the bad part about it, we cannot capture their ridership. So we are paying for a service that's not benefiting us. So since the contract has ended, I guess we're here to ask you guys opinion in moving forward, moving forward with ending the contract and just remaining using Lyft, because with Lyft, we can capture the ridership. And the reason we can't capture Uber ridership is because they will not comply with the shared ride rule that FTA sets forth for capturing ridership.
And if I can
So,
interject-
so that we really have, here's my understanding then. I mean, and really my focus on the Uber and Lyft ride initially was that we were looking at whether we ought to run buses later at night or have some alternative for people who take a bus to work, but get off after the bus is stopped running. And the financial logic in that was that it didn't make sense to run a 40-foot bus 2 more hours at night at the cost that it cost us per hour to operate for 2 or 3 riders, who needed a ride home after work.
Correct.
And so the plan was that people would ride the bus to work. They would get the code from on the bus, and they would be eligible for that supplement to their ride home. So we wouldn't leave workers stranded. That was my understanding of the initiative. Now, what you're saying is that the Lyft riders, that's what they do. They get the code when they ride the bus in. So we know then they have that to get the Lyft ride home and the payment for that. But that Uber doesn't do that, that their riders don't do that?
No, ma'am. So it's not that they're not doing it, and you're correct. That's how the program was to begin, helping with riders get home after the fact. But Pam, correct me if I'm wrong, but now you can ride any time of day. It doesn't have to just be after the buses have ended. You can pull up your Uber or your Lyft, put in a code, and you'll get that $8 subsidy. But the difference is, again, we were trying to capture ridership for Uber and for Lyft. It has nothing to do with the coupon code. It's just that Uber is not conforming per the FTA standards to not allow for shared rides.
And also the problem with Uber is, and this does have to do with the code. Lyft, there's a code that changes every month. So therefore we have some kind of control over making sure people use it for the reason that it's there, which is, for comment at night. And then you have comment to the market, which could be used anytime.
Right.
With Uber, though, they just have a voucher, and that voucher is static. So once the voucher is used up, it's no more. And we did have an instance where, when school is in session, the students use up all the vouchers, so the people who want to use Uber at night can't, because we're out of vouchers. And we've increased that, as a courtesy, maybe two or three times, Roz? Over the course of us doing that. And it just becomes very expensive. In addition to the reason that Ms. Andrews mentioned, that they don't comply with what we need to report to FTA.
Well, I mean, I'm sure the finance committee probably is the major decision maker on it, but that feels pretty much like a no-brainer that we would be, I mean, if they can't provide the service in ways that are sustainable for us in terms of our own needs and reporting, it doesn't make sense to renew the contract.
Correct. Yes.
But as I said, I think that's a subject for the finance committee to make a recommendation to the board. And so this is really to just have us informed of it, is it not?
Well, I think it was doing both. We were going to the finance committee with it, but since the financial implication, I guess, wasn't so much to where it would be detrimental to us, it came to the service committee. So we go to the finance committee when there's going to be a financial impact. So I guess where it would be a financial impact, but a savings to us versus spending money out. So if we end the contract, like I say, from July, beginning of this fiscal year to this February, we've almost paid them Uber alone, $500,000.
Well, I mean, and it wasn't really set up to just be a bonus to anybody who wanted to take an Uber. Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be that. Well, and so we don't have any misgivings that Lyft would be able to accommodate the target audience that we have this program for.
So with Lyft, we are able to, per the entity, because we report the ridership, Lyft is
Mhm.
doing what they need to do so that we
Mhm.
can calculate their ridership, and it's been benefiting us. Like I say,
Okay.
they give
Okay.
us the information we need every month, which in essence is the ridership.
All right, so do we, as the service committee, need to make a recommendation to the board?
I have a question.
Ms.
Yeah.
Gleason has a question. Speak up, Ms. Gleason.
Okay, my question is, on this Uber partner ridership, we're not riding students on this Uber, am I correct?
It's not catered to just students. Anyone can use Uber or Lyft.
Okay, because I know these young kids, they can ride the bus. The buses go in just about all the areas around the schools. And they can, get on the buses and ride the buses, which would be a whole lot cheaper. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
Okay.
Do you need a motion?
That's what I was asking. Do we need a motion to make a recommendation to the board?
Now that's, are you ready for me to respond?
Yes. I mean, in order for you to do this, do you need somebody's permission? And then if we do need somebody's permission, does it have to be the finance making a recommendation to the board or the service committee?
I assume you guys can make the recommendation.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
recommendation will be to end the contract with Uber.
Okay. So do I have a motion?
Yes, I move that we end the contract with Uber.
All right, and a second? I'll second that. Is there any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Pam,
Aye.
you probably need to call the roll on this one.
Okay, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Fergus,
Yes.
Ms. Gleason,
Yes.
Ms. Mood,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay. All right, then we'll make that recommendation to the board at this month's meeting. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And that takes us to the COVID subcommittee update. Is there any news to report from Leroy, you and Mr. Cooksey?
No, ma'am, I don't have anything to report.
I don't have anything either. Thank you.
Okay. And how about Pam on the impacts, the vaccination program, besides these wonderful movies that we've got, videos?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have any updated numbers from our vendor at Comet Central for this month yet.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, then, if that's the case, then our only other item is to adjourn. Do I have a motion? Motion and a second?
A second.
And we'll take a voice vote. Aye.
Aye.
That'll do it. And thank you so much for your time and your participation. And
Thank you.